jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's the jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
All right.
All right.
So Gamera,
Well-
he's really neat. He's full of turtle meat.
Yes.
We all love you, Gamera.
And more loaded than Clint Eastwood's entire gun arsenal and Del DeBone's equipment is none other than Nathan Spavold of the What Were They
Hey.
Thinking podcast.
Always happy to talk about the turtle.
How can we not be? I mean, turtle.
Well, I mean,
Turtle, turtle.
he not only that, he's the friend of all children and guardian of the universe.
I want Timmy.
Not just the galaxy, of the entire universe. That's Gamera. That's, you can rely on him as a true turtley friend.
A turtle of all friends and children. I mean,
Right.
at least we're reviewing this and not the Master of Disguise. So
Well, no, I mean, that's I wasn't gonna go out of my way to talk about that movie. Good lord.
I couldn't resist.
Poor Dana Carvey. The movie
Uh,
sank his career before it even really got going.
Oh boy.
Anyhow, we're not here to talk about the Master of Disguise. We're here to talk about everyone's favorite terrapin, Gamera, the
Just
Invincible. Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe.
Gamera.
The
So
Brave.
as we will go, we'll review by era and just leave a brief paragraph after each film, along with a 5 out of 5 star rating. And well, I don't mean a 5-star rating each one, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah, you mean give a rating out
Yeah.
of 5. I get it. It's not my first rodeo. I can do that.
Mhm.
So, okay. Well, I think we should start where all good things start, and that's at the start.
So Gamera,
Gamera the Invincible.
the injured elephant sounding creature. First off, did you watch all of these films?
I
in
have
order?
seen every single one of them at least 3 times, and that means I've seen Gamera Super Monster 3 times. That
Oh,
movie
God.
is terrible, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Oh,
But I didn't come to them. I didn't come to them till late. I knew of Gamera because when Guardian of the Universe was released in theaters over here, I'd seen ads for it at the back of comics. Now, of course, in my podunk little town, we never got anything like that in our cinemas. So I was like, oh, it's a giant turtle. It's probably like a Godzilla movie. That seems kind of interesting. I never really thought too much of it after that. And then I think there was an episode of The Simpsons where they go to Japan. And he's fighting Rodan with Mothra and Godzilla. And I was like, oh, it's that giant. It is a giant turtle. It's a Godzilla thing. And then I don't know what it was. It was I think it might have been probably sometime in the early or maybe later 2000s, probably around 2010-ish. So yeah, 2010, not even early to late 2000s, right into
There you go.
2010. Yeah. Where I was getting into Mystery Science Theater. And it might even be before that, because a friend of mine had introduced it to me when I was when I was working at a call center, and then another friend of mine, I found out he was a fan of it. And so I just kind of took it on myself to start kind of watching the ones that everyone would be suggesting online. So of course Ega and Mitchell and all of those, and of course Gamera always comes up because some of the best segments of the
Just
show
classic.
are from that, like especially the Gamera versus Gauss episode where they do that whole Ed Sullivan thing in the middle. So I was like, oh, this is really kind of campy and fun. And he is maybe outside of the first movie, he's kind of exclusively the good guy for the series, unlike Godzilla, who's sometimes a good guy, sometimes a bad guy, sometimes an
Anti-hero.
anti-hero. Yeah.
War.
So I was like, I really like these. These are kind of cool. And then it just kind of snowballed from there that I started watching them. I sought out the original Riffless episode or movies, I guess, when they put out the Gamera box set for MST3K. I snatched that up pretty quickly. And then I finally got around to getting some Blu-rays of the Hesai the Showa series, the later series,
Right.
the Guardian of the Universe ones, and loved those. Like I legitimately love those movies. The original ones are campy fun. They remind me of like a Ultraman or a Power Rangers episode or something like that with the
Absolutely.
miniatures and all that. But the 90s ones I really feel are some of the best kaiju movies that I've ever seen, like, and I'm including some of the Godzilla movies that I've seen.
And had you already seen the kaiju films by this time? You're already kind of into it, or did these actually get you
I'd been into giant monster movies like long before I even kind of stumbled onto Gamera. I was a big Godzilla fan, but coming up in the era that I grew up in, the internet wasn't really a thing. And so I didn't really kind of get to have my horizons broadened or branched out into other kaiju until much later. So I didn't know about, all the other ones, like obviously Gamera.
It didn't
There's
help that not all of them were on VHS, and you'd have to
Well,
literally
that's it, like,
scour the thrift stores just to
a
find
lot
some.
of them, a lot of those movies just kind of got relegated to obscurity because a good portion didn't even make it to theaters in North America. They were just kind of pushed out to cable companies and stuff, and either apparently you'd see them on, like, Sunday afternoon movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The old Dialing for Dollars type movie matinees that they'd have on basic cable long before there were 500 channels and nothing on.
Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a perfect segue. That's basically how my father and various uncles always were watching various stuff on the antenna channels, and that's where they saw a lot of Godzilla type stuff. But back around 04 and 06, I definitely started seeing a lot of MST3K recordings they had, as well as and of course Gamera. And I fortunately saw Guardian of the Universe, and that was just outrageous because I was like, wait, why are there no silhouettes? Wait, no one's talking during the movie. Okay, I'm actually enjoying the movie.
Yeah, and like I said, those later ones. I know they're still using a lot of practical effects and miniatures in the making of it, but like just some of I could watch those movies over and over again, and have for sure. So
yeah, and so long story short, guys, this is a 12 movie film series. So we're starting with the Showa era, which ran from 1965 to 1980. And we're going to debate whether that's should even be called. Technically, it should be 11 movies, but we'll get to that. So we're going to go with Gamera, also known as the Giant Monster, from 65. This was, of course, an answer to Godzilla by Noriaki Yuasha. And I apologize if I did not pronounce your name correctly. And I actually gotta congratulate him because, in the words of Joel Hodgson, hey, not a half bad movie.
No, and it's
as
also
you
interesting
pointed
that
out,
it's one of the it's actually the only Gamera movie where he doesn't have an adversary.
doesn't have an adversary. It's interesting because,
Black and white.
yeah, you got gripping visuals and model work, and again, same kind of level of suspense as other movies around this time. Not just Gojira, but also just kind of what was being used in pretty much every international creature movie, whether it was Roger Corman or a Universal monster movie. You have a lot of that just kind of very moody music, and I know everyone even mocks the main character Timmy. I have no problem with him.
No, and he obviously he's there because Gamera saves him, and so that makes you be a little more sympathetic to the character. Of course, he is a giant monster wrecking up the place and tearing down electrical dams and things like that. So the people feel compelled to rid the world of Gamera, but you also feel kind of bad for him because it's one of those situations where he didn't ask for this. That he was awoken under the ice shelf in the Arctic, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. Surprisingly, unlike any other Keiju movie, no one seems to know who actually plays Gamera. It seems to vary, in between the obvious, puppet segments where he's spinning and everything, no one knows who's playing the guy in the creature suit.
I couldn't tell you. Actually, I honestly, I'm gonna put this right out there. I could not honestly name a single person in the movies. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of them. I just know that they are really fun to watch, and I can watch them over and over again.
This is kind of the rare example where, despite there being forgettable characters, they're not the annoying or distractingly bad kind. That
I don't know. There's a few in the
are.
later ones, but not this one here. It's a pretty
I'm just saying, for
straightforward.
the overall most part, yes. There's
Yeah.
never going to be at least one person who's like, I need, whether it's the dubbing or your how the way you're standing, you got to leave now. So this movie just goes by fast, and before you know it, it is just like, wow. I mean,
Yeah, it does go by at a good clip.
78 minutes.
It's
Crap.
well, I mean, and I find that with a few of the other ones too, of this era, is that they're shorter, and in the releases that we got in North America, they pad out the film. Not in this case, but in the later ones, they pad out the film with like previously on Gamera, and they're just showing like old bits from the other movies. It's like, yeah, we saw this.
Which is wild because this is before, they were doing like the Tokyo Theater for all the other Keiju movies where, it was like you came there instantly for all the monster combat and nothing else. It was a action Saturday morning cartoon. So I guess you could say it's both at a lack of imagination and just trying to get people as in and as out as possible.
Yeah, and so I mean, as far as I guess a first movie goes, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's better than Gojira, because I mean ultimately that's the benchmark, the standard. But I will say, as far as like a black and white, let's face it, kind of a knockoff or a cash grab, if you will, Joel was right. Not half bad of a movie. I enjoy it, and I've seen it a few times. I especially like the nice crisp restoration that was done for the Blu-rays that Arrow Video put out.
Yes,
really clear, really nice. I had contemplated at one point getting the Mill Creek one years ago when they put it out, and then I was like, I got to the store when those things came out, and I went down to one of my local stores here and found a copy of the box set. It was the first 4 of that series, I think it was, and I look at it, and lo and behold, no English tracks. Now, say what you will, a lot of people will say, oh, it's you don't need it, just watch it with the subtitles, and it's blasphemous and all that. I was like, I'll tell you what, if I'm gonna watch Kurosawa movie, I don't have a problem reading the movie. Okay, it's subtitled. If that's the way I get to watch it, or I have to watch it, I'm fine with it, because you get the the oomph of it, and there's story that makes you want to keep reading it. Most of the time for these movies, I'm usually sitting down with my kids or nieces or nephews or something like that, and I'm like, I don't want to have to read a movie about a giant turtle fighting a giant bat bird creature and then get reading all the lines to get the subtext. Just give me a crappy dub where all the mouths are out of sync and buildings are getting smashed, and I'm fine. And I'm certainly not going to sit around and be like, interesting, reading the subtext of of a Gamera film.
I hear you. I'll take what's available, but yeah, in that case where you're babysitting people, is like, yeah, they can't go on a visual aid or understand every single word. You need just the corny, dubbing to just get them in the mood. In a way, that is part of the appeal of some of these movies. It's just the same thing when everyone goes, oh, why would you remaster that piece of crap on Blu-ray or something? It's like, well, that's the thing. Part of the trashiness is part of its appeal. And in this case, I like you say, I don't think the dubbing is necessarily for some of these movies is necessarily trashy or anything, but I know what you mean, where it's like,
oh no, it's not.
Party,
that's it. It's not trashy or anything. It's just that I don't know.
It in this case.
I almost feel like with any kaiju movie, the dubbing of it actually kind of adds to the nostalgia aspect of it for me.
The comic bookish kind of
look. Because like if I'm watching
oh no,
all the jokes back in the day of all the out of synced dialogue, and not even just kaiju movies, like all the old Bruce Lee movies, the ninja movies from the
absolutely.
The 80s, and all those kung fu movies, Sonny Chiba stuff. That dubbing, it adds to it. It adds a nuance.
Would never dub himself, but Jackie Chan, it didn't matter what language, he would dub it, and it was like great.
So I mean, that's I guess it's one of the things that I'm. That's why I was a little upset about the whole Mill Creek thing. It's like, I get that you want to present these in their truest form, and that's all fine and well, because Arrow Video did the same thing. With that said, you can watch the original Japanese versions of these movies, but they were also able to put in the American dubbings from the Sandy Frank productions.
Oh, nice. Wow. I've definitely been meaning to get the MST3K set one of these days. It's just,
I would recommend it. It's actually on Show Factory right now. I don't know how much longer they're going to hang on to the rights for it.
I think they'll have it for a while, because I mean, they've had just so much sales.
Well, that's the thing though, but it's not necessarily just that, because Shout Factory had the original Gamera series. They had the DVD rights to it. And I actually managed to snatch up a couple of the Shout Factory DVDs, and they look fantastic as well. But when Mill Creek got the rights to the Gamera movies, you couldn't get them through Shout Factory anymore. In fact, those DVDs they're not highly sought after bits of collect, but I mean, they definitely go for a considerably higher than what the manufacturer's suggested retail price would be now if you're looking for them on eBay. But they did manage to wrangle them back so they could do at least the Mystery Science Theater re-releases. So you can get the box set now on my phone's going off here a second.
Oh no, giant turtles attacking. Nathan, we need your last line of defense. Can you fire those?
Let's see here. There we go. Oh, I've got it.
Well, no, I know what you mean. And Shout Factory, it seemed they've already put out a press release saying they've released all, for that matter, even just all the MST3K episodes that they can possibly release. It's like there's still 4 episodes where those filmmakers, damn them, will not release their version of it. Not even the Godzilla episodes are available still. It never will be.
Those ones, it's a different monster, if you'll pardon the pun, because you're dealing with Toho there, right? And they're a little more
not good sports.
Yeah, they're definitely more covetous with their rights, especially when it comes to Godzilla. Even though the ones that were featured on Mystery Science Theater are some of the goofiest Godzilla movies that you can get.
Some of the lesser yet
if you don't have the scratch to grab the MST DVDs from Shout Factory, they are currently right now on Tubi for free. So if anybody's interested and they want to, they want to see some of those again, they are there to be viewed on Tubi. I would certainly recommend Gamera versus Gauss is one of my favorites of the bunch.
Oh yeah.
So, but as far as the first Gamera movie goes, Gamera the Invincible, Gamera the Terrible Creature, or the thousand other titles that it has, it's a great starter. It's actually a pretty good little movie as far as copies of an original, and I would actually give it a solid 4 out of 5.
I'm with you. It's just because it doesn't drag. It doesn't feel like, for a ripoff, it's still comfortable kind of being its own deal. It's actually kind of makes better use of the Arctic environment to some extent than, Godzilla Returns in some aspect.
Well, and thing is, it's one of the only, it's actually the only time in this series, I think, that they make use of the idea of Gamera being, under an ice sheet, because all the other movies just start with him popping up onto the scene and fighting some monsters, as we see in the next movie, Gamera versus Baragon.
66.
Oh, that actually, this one here is another interesting one too, because it's the only one that doesn't feature any kids.
It is a wild one. It's an interesting thing because you get used to it, and then it's like, whoa, who told you could bring the kids back into the playground?
Well, it's the human story is interesting in this one. These guys are going to this island where they think they're getting a rare opal, which is going to be worth a fortune. They don't know that it's actually a creature egg. When they bring it back, of course, the thing hatches, and we get Baragon. He starts running amok and wrecking the place up, and then this summons Gamera into the fray. All the while the humans are dealing with their drama and stuff like that. And Baragon's got this really kind of weird thing. He shoots like a rainbow out of his back. And yeah, and he's got like almost like a reptilian tongue that he shoots at, that he like almost like he bleh, and whatever. He actually manages to freeze our good Gamera pal in the first act, because most Gamera movies, at least where he has an adversary, usually will have a formula of the adversary showing up, wreaking havoc. Gamera shows up to try to stop it. Gamera will inadvertently lose the original fight, figure out what the enemy's weaknesses and strengths are, and will ultimately use those in whatever the final showdown against that particular foe looks like.
Right? And if I'm not mistaken, is this the one or the second one where you got the subplot with this one evil mad scientist and these other businessmen, and there's an unexpected murder by one of them?
Is that?
I think it's Gaius.
Yes.
My bad.
Yes.
My bad.
No, it's this one here.
It is this one.
It is
Okay.
this one. Yeah.
And I was just loving how during the riffing, how they're just making fun of, whoa, hey, getting violent there.
Yeah. Well,
Very
again,
unexpected.
because there's no kids involved in this in the production of this movie, it is a more of a I don't know, like a traditional B plot, like you would see maybe in a later Godzilla movie.
Right.
Think of the
Plot A is the conspiracy, plot B is the reveals, and then plot C is the final duel.
Yeah, I mean, you think about that Godzilla versus Mothra redo that they did in the 80s, or was it the early 90s? Anyhow,
Yeah, 92. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
It's very, very much in line with that kind of drama so far as the story goes. I mean, there's a lot more fighting, there's gunplay.
Not inspired, but not schlocky either. Just the perfect amount of just, okay, we're introducing something, we're shocking you, and now that we got your interest, we're, it's going from plot A to plot B without necessarily, breaking any kind of mold or being
Yeah.
groundbreaking.
And this one kind of bummed me out as far as like availability went,
I
especially
know, right?
with the Shout Factory ones. When they put them out, when they put the first two out, Gamera, the Invincible, and then Gamera versus Baragon. When Shout Factory put those out, they were single DVD releases, and they didn't put the English dub on them. So the only way I had to watch this was through MST3K or some just crappy bootleg. Well, not so much bootleg, but like I don't know, just like some crappy release I got at like a $5 bin at a Walmart, and you know it looked the quality of the film looked like trash.
It's in the public domain as some of
yeah,
these. I'm
and
sure
like,
it was
so they've got like the square, like they didn't even like it was when they put it on the DVD, it was like, here's the version that they showed on television. So enjoy the black bars on the side of it, because they even left that full frame cut. I was like, this is gross. So I was so happy. Yeah, I was super duper happy when the Blu-ray one came out, and it was all done properly.
It kind of almost mirrors some of the German and Swedish, techno music that was playing at raves in the 80s. A lot of it just was not, the copyright police were not paying attention to. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's definitely a case of just numerous movies and shows that just plucked from local stations, and whoever, because they're in the public domain, no one's worried about,
See, that's the thing. I don't even know if these actually ended up being in the public domain, because I know Dai, the company that made them originally, of course they floundered a bit in the towards the beginning of the 80s, which we'll talk about when we get to the worst Gamera movie ever. So the rights might have just been real cheap and
Alpha
easy
Video
to get.
said they had a public domain version from AIP TV on in Free. So I think that might have been the crap fest that you endured.
It might have been. I do know that there's a one of the, it might even be Baragon, or maybe it was Virus. There's 3 versions on the Blu-ray. Nice. There's there's the original Japanese theatrical, there's an American theatrical, and then there's like a cut for TV afternoon viewing version of it. But this one here, Gamera versus Baragon, just because it is so much different than the rest of them, I would definitely land this one another 4, maybe 3.5.
No, and that's fine. I again, for a B movie, obviously this isn't going to win awards, but as a creature feature, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 as well, just because while it's not jaw-breaking, it's at least good for the subgenre that it is, in terms of just both the fights. The creature has reasonable menace without being just, an ugly creation or just another lifeless,
It was interesting because with a character like Gamera who like flies and stuff like that, his very first enemy was a ground-based villain or creature, which was kind of neat. Like I said, what makes that movie out more for me is the human story that's going on, because that's actually that story is a little bit more compelling than the actual stuff with Gamera and Baragon. Now, if we're going to move on to Gamera versus Gauss, or another one of its million titles, this one here I feel is really, this is the best Gamera movie of this era, in my opinion.
No, that's fine. And after you've already had a similar named creature, not to be confused with a Godzilla, opponent, to have to show that he's willing to have his own kind of original villains is a lot of fun. And they're almost always, vulture type creatures, or giant elephants.
I really like this one just because the reason why I feel it's the best is because, one, the Gauss is a flying monster, and he has like the sonic rays that he shoots out, and of course, so because he flies, we also get some more treatment of Gamera, flying around for fighting and stuff like that. The movie itself is pretty straightforward. There's a bunch of Japanese farmers whose land is looking to be bought up by a corporation who wants to build like a highway through their village. The village elder, he's trying to hold their feet to the fire for more money. All the while this construction's going on, the monster Gauss has been awoken and starts wreaking havoc. He splits a helicopter in half, eats a news reporter.
Right. This is a very interactive movie. Everybody is impacted. In some
really,
way.
I mean, now, and this is the thing. This with of course, we return. We get a kid. This one's Itchy, not Timmy or Timmy. Itchy is
I'm just
probably one of my. Sorry. I don't care for that kid at all. He's quite annoying, but I don't feel he's so bad that it detracts too much from the movie from me. Brendan might have a different thing to say. He didn't much care for Itchy when we talked about this on the show. But that being said, when I watch Gamera versus Gauss, it's almost the opposite of Baragon. I don't really tune in for the human drama in that, because the battles between Gauss and Gamera are so fun to watch. I actually just recently rewatched this one with my youngest. She loves it.
Woo!
She was asking about why they were building the tower and what they were pouring in the thing, and I was explaining to her about Gauss and the smell of blood and all that. Now they're gonna make him dizzy and he can't turn his head.
Gory, like later Godzilla, and it's always in the moment where it's like, whoa, hey, it's kind of blurring the line between PG-13 and R here. And in the riffing, they do make explicit use of it. They're like, ew, gross.
So, of course, because the Gauss has been awoken, this brings Gamera into the fray, and he does battle to save the people of Japan and ultimately the world by fighting Gauss. The characters get the rebirth treatment in the first 90s movie, because I gotta say, like, again, of all of the Gamera villains, Gauss is probably the one that is the best as far as the put together, because of the ability to fly, and it makes the battles that much.
It's a fun dragon dinosaur type creature.
Yeah. So I mean, the design is actually really cool too, with that whole shovel head thing going on.
Yeah, I'll even give you this. The self-defense force by Japan is inspired, especially with, the windmills and the other art direction that's going on there. But like you say, the human drama, that the main plot B or C, it's line between that. It's that ambiguous, guys. Dr. Aki, I think, is interesting at the countermeasures group. But yeah, I know what you mean. Where it's just like the rest of the stuff, it's not like bad Godzilla bad, but it's still pretty stupid. And so, fortunately, because it's limited on screen and they're not really all that involved or impacted by it, it's just a 5-minute moment of annoyance, and then the rest is awesome sauce. So,
which is why the Gamera versus Gauss gets 4.5 out of 5 from me. It loses a half because of Itchy.
No, all good.
Hate that kid.
All good. No, I can't blame you. I do like to say, what do you think of how, Gaius, like, attacks him? Like, in terms of how it's like a mix of, against a fire-breathing turtle, with jet feet. It's interesting how he's got, these lasers, as well as all these other, diverse clawing abilities. It's
he uses the...
kind of creepy.
He makes good use of the... they make a use of the sonic laser. And they even explain that, the anatomy of the Gauss and everything.
Yeah.
But an often overlooked one is the I don't know, it's like smoke or a scent or a musk or something.
Oh yeah, really that's gross,
right. That Gauss uses to douse out fire, which ultimately is one of Gamera's one of his defenses. He's a fire breathing turtle, and if he can't use the fire, it definitely takes away some of his offense, which makes that character just a little bit cooler as far as Gamera villains go.
There you go. Fun facts. Apparently, just our final note before we move on. Apparently, one of the police division director is played by an actor, Kenji Oyama, who actually shares his name with the Japanese professional baseball player of the same name. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's kind of neat.
So I'm sure somewhere along the way, someone at a convention was like, "Oh yeah, from Gamera versus Gaios." No,
That wasn't me. Well,
play ball.
Check out my ERA.
I'll sign this baseball if you go away, please. So this just keeps cranking out throughout the remainder of the 60s, once a year. So we follow up with Gamera versus Virus. Not virus, but
Virus. I've heard
Virus.
virus. That's yeah. And
It's to add confusion. It's also been released as Destroy All Planets, so the confusion for America continues. Damn you.
Oh, they get all. Well, that's the thing. All these Gamera versus movies, they all had alternate titles. I think like the Gamera versus Gauss one is like Monster Midair Battle or some.
Yeah.
Like
It's just insultingly just is like, how petulant do you think audiences really are? Just to see how much.
Well, I mean, Godzilla movies get ones like that too. I mean, like there's Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters Attack, things like that. So I mean, it's not, they weren't the first to kind of do it. But I do like that. Go ahead.
It does kind of bring to mind how some Godzilla movies are missing any commentary on, foreign powers in the case. States and Russian scenes or other stuff that could be not necessarily PG.
And I do like that with the re-releases that they've kind of basically just stuck with Gamera versus monster name, and they haven't messed around with the alternate titles. But yeah, Gamera versus Virus, the giant squid alien octopus.
Yeah, outer space monster Virus, and
definitely a bit of a departure. More one of the zanier ones for sure.
Yeah.
And I think this one was where from this one on right up until Super Monster, they had like, there was always an Asian kid, a Japanese kid, and an American. Except for Gamera versus Zigra. Yeah, Zigra didn't. That was just two Japanese kids as well. But yeah, this one here is two boys, Tom and I can't remember that kid's name now. They're both Boy Scouts, and they hijack a sub because they're Boy Scout. It gets off the rails real fast.
Zaniness, 5 out of 5.
And it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it even weirder how there's an American named Jim just joining them along for the ride, and it was played by an actual guy who had no acting experience. So.
Yeah, the kid apparently actually went on to be like a politician or something.
Did he?
Something like that.
Oh, Craig. Damn. Well, that sounds political enough, I guess. So. Did he do anything good with his career, or was he one of those lobbyists?
He didn't get in trouble, so good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, these two boys, they hijack this experimental mini sub, so they can explore the depths. And honest to God, this movie is it's a blur. It really is. It's not one of the ones I've seen the most of, for sure.
Yeah.
At one point, the space aliens, because we smash cut open with the aliens kind of approaching Earth in their spaceships, which look like bee butts. And they're coming towards the Earth, and Gamera attacks, fending them off, and they send out a distress call to the other ships that are also on their way to be careful because Earth is protected by Gamera. Brah, 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 and we start, and then we get the boys doing their thing. When the aliens actually do get to Earth again, they actually manage to trap Gamera in like a dome under the sea, because everything's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new Podcast Cure-All? Sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Hey, I heard you like movies.
I heard you like to hustle.
I heard you like podcasts.
Well, guess what?
There's a podcast for you out there called The Home Video Hustle.
Damn right.
Every Friday, we talk about whatever movie PJ picks out the bag. What does that mean? Every Wednesday on our YouTube page, I put a bunch of movies in a bag, and PJ picks one out at random. And then we just watch it. We talk about it for maybe like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we feel like doing, wherever the conversation leads us.
But do we actually talk about the movie?
Most of the time. Tangents galore.
Yes.
So believe me, we may be a movie podcast, but it's not always about movies. We may talk about video games, music. Yeah, that's the big one, music. Sometimes we might get a little bit of politicalness in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we may just, we know what we like to do. We like to tell stories, PJ.
Yes.
I am the master storyteller
Yes.
of the podcast realm. Undefeated. So if you like to hear about movies, video games, whatever foolishness comes to our mind, the most random stuff you could think of, check out the Home Video Hustle. You can find us on the Stitchers,
Yes.
the Google Play,
Yes.
Apple Podcasts,
What else?
Podbean,
What else?
Podcast Addict,
Goddamn.
all that. Ain't no reason you can't get your hustle on. We everywhere, worldwide, baby.
Hustle, motherfucking hustle.
Hey, we can't cuss in the promo, PJ. We
Ah.
gotta be family friendly. There may be podcasts out there that don't want his hair say
Ah. Ah.
all
Yeah.
that good fun stuff.
Well, you.
Yeah. don't run the listeners away, PJ.
I'm sorry.
But this is going kind of long.
Yes.
So we'll go end this and say, hey, check out the Home Video Hustle every Friday on all the various podcast outlets. Peace.
Peace.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And while Witch didn't make it to the top of the world, he did make the Gangs of Hollywood podcast. So join the gang and enjoy a movie review podcast about movie gangs, gangsters, mobsters, and the mayhem they cause. You can find GOH Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GOH Pod at www.gohpod.com, as well as your favorite podcast listening app. And remember, say hello to your little friend for me.
If you take two old punk rockers who are past their prime, put them in front of a movie screen and give them a podcast, what do you get? Cinema Punks. Cinepunks. It's the mixtape of movies.
Did
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of it.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history
up.
popping up at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
It's time, let's check our queue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. Whether one last plot holes or gratuitous movies, it's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy at eilfm.podbean.com.
Welcome to Who Was She podcast. I am your host, Tara Jabari. After a decade working in documentaries, marketing, and all things digital media, I found that podcasting is a strong medium to share stories. After years of producing for others, I decided to start my own biographical podcast. Who Was She will focus on the life of a woman throughout Baha'i history. The first season is about Lydia Zamenhof. Lydia's story explores the subjects of the power of language and faith. Her father invented the universal language Esperanto, and she came from a Jewish family and became a Baha'i. She grew up during World War I and was killed during World War II in a concentration camp, despite heroic efforts to save her life. How can one person's life intersect with so many others, connect across borders, and inspire a biography which inspired this podcast? Over the next few weeks, I will share her story with you and the lives that were most affected by her and those who affected her life as well. They include her father, Ludwig Zamenhof, her spiritual mother, American journalist Martha Root, and the Baha'i German soldier Fritz Mako, who worked for the resistance undercover while having to serve the Nazi Party. I want to thank the author Wendy Heller and George Ronald Publishing for their blessing to let me use Heller's biography, Lydia, The Life of Lydia Zamenhof, Daughter of Esperanto, as a main and instrumental resource for this podcast. So please subscribe and learn about this amazing woman who traveled through 3 continents in an effort to bring unity through the power of language. You can also find more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Who Was She podcast. Music was composed and performed by Sam Red. I am your host, Tara Jabari. Join us next time as we begin our journey about Lydia Zemenoff.
Hi, everybody. It's Mac Jackson. I wanted to invite you to a new site called the Forever Adventure Network. This website has everything: pictures, videos, blogs. There's original music by Harmony Constant, 2 podcasts. One is the MacGyver podcast, where we celebrate Richard Dean Anderson, his iconic roles, and how it's influenced our lives. There's episode discussions, interviews, and life conversations. The second podcast is the Never Gets Old podcast, where we celebrate all the best things that we love in life, from TV, movies, music, and comics. The site is also the home for the MacGyver SG-1 audio series, an ongoing adventure series that continues the adventures of MacGyver and SG-1. There are also multiple stores to choose from for all of your pop culture and adventure needs. Come on by and check us out today. And thanks for joining the adventure.
Are you sick of the same old stale podcasts? Well, then join Vanessa and Darren as they dissect movies of all kinds. The 2 lifelong cinema lovers bring their favorites, curiosities, and first-time watches to the operating table and inject them with a healthy dose of snark. Then there's the waiting room, where they examine books and short stories. So just look for them on Apple Podcasts and where fine podcasts are available. They're part of the Legion Podcast Network. Follow them on Twitter at VDClinicPod. Join them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/VDClinicPod. Or email them at vdclinicpod@gmail.com. They're ready to cure what ails you. And still, they just might be a little contagious.
We now continue with our program.
They trap him under there and they abduct the boys. And this is one of the places where we get the padding, because we find out that we find out that he fought the monster Baragon, that he helped Timmy, that he fought Gauss, and this way the aliens can kind of see you. They're kind of gathering info on Gamera, and really what they're doing is they're just padding the film with old footage, which becomes a thing for the rest of these movies.
Back then, so if anyone didn't know or wasn't aware of anything that had been repeated,
it almost feels like it's treated like those old serials that my my dad and my grandparents used to tell me about. Like, you would go to the movies and it would always be like previously on Super Argo or something like that, and
Cody.
Exactly, and they tell you what happened. And that's kind of like the way this goes. Of course, the boys they think that they're fighting they're helping to fight against these alien invaders who are these people with like light up eyes. And they, while they're on the spaceship exploring about, they find this monster, that this alien thing they think
Squid.
Is actually Squid. They think is captured by the aliens. It's a prisoner too, so we gotta help them get loose, and so they unlock it. Unbeknownst to them, this is the big baddie. This is Virus. And after gathering all his information on Gamera, it's like, I need to make myself bigger in order to fight. So he lops off the heads of 4 of the alien men with the light up eyes, who we come to find out are actually other people who have been brainwashed, and uses their essence to make himself super big. which leads to the fight with Gamera, which is an all right fight. It's okay. It's definitely not my favorite of the bunch for sure.
It doesn't help that just a lot of the stop motion used for Varas just seems very, it's kind of it's the kind where they just they speed it up.
It's
up and
crude.
down.
Yeah, it's very crude. And it's not even as good as like a Harryhausen or anything like that.
It
So
feels almost like a slasher movie at times, just because that's literally what he's doing. Just attack, unexpected gory, and it's like, whoa, what the hell? Just no, build up to anything that's about to happen. So it just feels, just very schlocky at times.
he does have that cool like digging, spinning attack with his head, which I think is kind of a neat thing for the character. But it is kind of weird to see Gamera fighting, a squid monster on land.
He loses a hand, and it's even weird seeing him having to regenerate it for what seems like centuries.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, he saves the boys, he saves the world, but he also gets a little bit of help from the kids.
And there's apparently smoke in space.
Apparently, yes, in an oxygen vacuum, things can blow up and be all smoky.
And the science
Well, it was.
This is a negative 400 out of 10. But no, as a movie, I see what you mean. It's not.
This one's
you can't take
it's
it
a 3.
seriously.
I mean, for me, it's a 3
I'm with you.
because there's still like the whimsical feel of it is still there.
Harmless, but like you say, it's not necessarily well made in all areas. It just feels like they pretty much, like a serial, they took like 6 different ones of those, but
yeah,
then they forgot along the way. Oh, we're not making the Lone Ranger here. We're making Gamera, but we don't have time to, people don't come to this for the script. Last we checked, so let's just put it here together. Just
which
outline
is
it.
It's kind of a shame too, because the next 2 are actually pretty competently made as far as 60s, 70s kaiju movies go, especially Gamera versus Guiron, which
well, and it's just so funny how the filmmaker who made this
villain
the filmmaker who made this didn't think there would be any after that one, and yet he was proven wrong.
Yeah. And so next is Gamera versus Guiron.
No theatrical release, straight to
which
TV.
is, I think it's kind of a shame, because other than Gauss, I would probably say that Guiron is one of the better villains that the Gamera has to fight. He's a nice. It's almost like a. What happened there? You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
Do you see me? Did I break off?
For just a half a second, I heard
Oh,
bloop, bloop.
shit.
You're still recording the call.
Yep. You got Bill. No.
So,
no. I know.
Anyways,
definitely the most recognizable
it's a-
creature.
Exact.
Oh,
head, right? And it's almost like with
giant jack
Gamera versus, but still, he's another ground based enemy, but he's almost like he's like a better version of Baragon, because he's got the knife head that he uses. The Ninja Star thing is weird. That he has. We'll get to that as we're coming along here, because this movie, again, continuing on the tradition of these next 3 movies here, where we've got an Asian kid and Richard Chamberlain's son, apparently. This kid in this movie looks like a young Richard Chamberlain, which they make no shortage noting on Mystery Science Theater.
Shogun, he is not.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're friends. I'm guessing the kid's like an army brat or something, because his mother is, she shows up in the movie, and so he's living in Japan, but he's friends with these 2 local kids. They're apparently kind of friends with the local constabulary, old corn job, or Kondo or whatever his name is.
The goofball, yeah.
Right. These boys are kind of obsessed with the stars because they it's 1969. The space race is, it's over, but the world is still pretty obsessed with the idea of people going to space because they're going to be landing on the moon that year.
No one could ever do that, right?
Right. So they're constantly looking at the stars, and
there's the planet Terra that enters the picture here.
Yes. But one of the kids is hoping to find the perfect place where there's no wars or traffic accidents.
Keep dreaming.
Kid's obsessed with traffic accidents.
I guess he gets turned on by it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Pretty sick.
The aliens, I guess they send a spaceship to Earth. The kids find it, and as kids do, they climb onto it and immediately know how to use it and blast off, leaving their little sister behind.
What is school for?
Yeah. And they take off, and they have this weird discussion between the two of them about how fast the thing is going and how fast Gamera goes, because while they're traveling along in what looks like a big bowl of gummy bears, Gamera shows up, and he's like flying along, keeping pace with them.
Right. He enters the picture just out of nowhere, and they're like, apparently, I guess they crossed into his zone, and he just has to.
Well, he's
got nothing better to do.
He's guarding the universe, I guess.
Superman at this point.
Yeah. The ship takes over and flies them to planet Terra, which interesting. It's Earth,
Instead of nymphomaniac women, we got cannibal women.
Well, there's worse ways to go.
But not the kind that just eats. They think they will become instantly mega smart if they eat you, because your brain somehow transfers all that knowledge into them once they've filled their gut with you.
Not exactly sure how that goes. But the kids don't meet them at first. They get there and they see a battle between Guiron and Space Gauss.
Not to be confused with Space Ghost.
Right. Space Gauss is just Gauss painted silver. There was apparently supposed to be a completely new other monster that Guiron had a fight with in the first this movie, but I guess the production budget ran out, or they ran out of time, and they didn't have the ability to make this new monster. So they were like, just I don't know, paint the Bat Dragon silver and throw him in there. It'll be fine. And this fight is pretty violent. If you watch the Mystery Science Theater version of it, there is a lot that's cut out. But there's
during the battle, or during just on the planet itself where they're going
the battle between the Space Gauss, because he cuts off the foot, he cuts off the head, and he's eating at the thing, and the whole
that's right.
He's laughing about it. So Gauss is not Gauss. Guiron is a Bamf in this one, man. I'm telling you. And so the boys, they managed to get into what looks like a 1960s Howard Johnson, and this is where they meet the space ladies, who they think are really, really nice. Spoiler alert: they are not.
Women to all children.
Right, and
sounds disturbing if you say it that way.
They explained to the boys that Guiron is their watchdog. They keep that monster there so he can fight other space monsters like the Gauss that they just watched.
You can't put him on a leash, but if he hears you, he comes to you.
Right. They can hide him under they hide him under the planet, and there's a whole thing they've got set up where that runs water backwards. It's pretty ridiculous.
That's great.
At first you think, okay, so these ladies, they say that their planet was they were looking for a new planet, and their old planet was besieged by these monsters, which is why they have Guiron. And but what they don't tell you right away is that these ladies are actually looking to take over planet Earth, with the help of their monster, and they're just gonna, use people as a food source.
Realistically, I can kind of understand why they would become kind of like cavemen and just all animalistic and just, eat anything that moves just to survive. But like you say, the movie does not tell you dick.
I don't feel that they actually need to even really do that. I mean, they apparently have the ability for interstellar travel, but just can't understand the idea of ordering a salad.
It's like they have it, but they're afraid to take the chance and just blast off to somewhere else.
Yeah. So they kind of imprison the boys, gathering information again on Gamera. So we get our flashbacks to all the other episodes, and then the previous one where
In case you just couldn't bother to watch the other movies. Sorry, guys. Gotta tell you everything.
And again, so this is how they know that Gamera is a monster for good. And
remember those times when your relatives told an awesome story, but then had to unnecessarily backtrack into 5 other unrelated incidents? That's this kind of narrative.
That's most of these Gamera movies. We do
Is this the biggest offender, though? There's the question. Is this the worst of the flashbacks?
No, it is not. No, it is not. No, 100% it is not.
Not counting Super Monster. I'm just saying.
Okay, not counting Super Monster, it may be the worst offender. But Super Monster is the worst offender, 1,000%. So we do get we get some cool fights here with Gamera and Guiron. This is where you get the Gamera is fighting against Guiron, and for some reason Guiron has shurikens in the side of his face that he can throw with no hands. Like, he just shoots them. Like, winks at him.
Yeah. And Gamera is no Bruce Lee. He's not even Neo in the Matrix. He cannot bullet dodge. He
does try to do the ting 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 with the in the later fight, but he does end up taking
due to effects budget, you can't show the him going inside a shell and twirl around until like the final fight. So,
but he does take the shell. He does take the shurikens to the hand. When he tries to shake them off, that's where we get that fantastic GIF that you can see on the internet with him holding maracas, shaking it like he's dancing and stuff like that.
Not including the pencil workout.
Right. And so, but the fight is it's a good solid battle. I like the character. Unfortunately, we don't get to see Guiron leave the planet. I think it would have been kind of interesting in the third act if the whole thing ended up on Earth, and that's where it all kind of took place. We don't get that, but still the battles are solid. The B plot with the kids and the space ladies, it will actually hold your attention,
as opposed to feel like, I don't know, anything else.
Well, as opposed to Virus. I mean, that B plot for me is like, oh, there's 2 boys. They have a sub. Oh, they freed the monster. Oh, there's aliens. Oh, they're Boy Scouts. That's that holds no attention for me. This one, I'll pay attention to. The kid gets his head shaved because they're
at least a 3.5.
Yeah,
I mean, at least it might not be as polished as like the earlier stuff, but like you say, it's not to the point where it only makes sense in the realm of a comic book. Where even though there's more gore, it's not to the point of just feeling just very, gratuitously violent, to the point of it's like, why did they have that in there? It's just giving an origin for how hostile the monster is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool seeing Gamera again pull a Superman instead of having his own Krypton, cave. He has to literally just pull a Godzilla. He just is healing in the ocean, planning his next attack, healing.
Well, they even cover a bit of that in the Gamera versus Gauss, because at one point Gamera goes to the bottom of the sea to recuperate, and
just a good reason.
Itchy is like, Gamera. It's like, it's Gamera, you dick.
Right. Translators, what were you doing?
So,
oh, man.
This one, it's definitely, I'd say. 3.5 is a pretty solid rating on this one.
Not shallow and not to the point where without the riffing or any other nostalgia that you just feel like you have to fast forward through just the stupidity of it. It's just a lot.
I definitely sit down and I watch this one from beginning to end and not be any really like, oh my god, is this ever going to be done? So yeah, it holds the attention. The thing's it's solid.
How do you rank?
It does these points. Go ahead.
How do you rank Guiron compared to Baragon and Gaios?
He's. I think personally, I like him better than Baragon, simply because of he's
Spearhead.
much more. He's much more aggressive.
He's a shark. Yeah.
Yeah, the fight with Space Gauss is definitely more very aggro, and he revels in the idea of cutting up his opponents.
He's a
and stuff
horror
like
villain
that.
in a sci-fi action plotline. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
but I
listed
will
as
say
horror, by the way.
I do like Gauss better simply just because of the look of the Gauss and also the varied aerial combat options you have when you get a fight with.
He feels
with
like
Gamera.
he's his significant, other,
It
rival.
almost okay, not to put too fine a point on it. Maybe I guess if I was
Pun
thinking
intended.
if I was thinking Gamera, his Joker or his Green Goblin versus Spider-Man would be Gauss. Because
fair enough.
that's the monster that I immediately identify with Gamera when anybody talks about him, and it could just be the fact that it's the character or the monsters
Creatures better used there.
They're better used, and they've been in more Gamera movies than any other monster.
That's right.
Because Gauss he's in the first one. He shows up in this one as Space Gauss.
And in the 90s, yeah.
He's included in the Super Monster, but all of them are. He shows up in Guardian of the Universe. They also have Revenge of Iris and in Gamera the Brave. So
yeah, that's
a
fair point.
Yeah. So I think I definitely would say I like Gauss better than Guiron, but Guiron better than Baragon. So
the Godzilla Baragon was cooler anyway. So on to Jiger from 1970, and so here's where we get into once again looser territory, where much like any Sandy Frank production, whether it's Fugitive Alien or Mighty Jack, it just feels like there's a lot of unrelated stuff all meshed together without any continuity in the editing room.
Which is it's kind of funny because the human plot or whatever in this is it kind of starts introducing the idea of the Mu continent and Atlantis and all that, which comes into play later in the 90s movies. I did like that aspect of it, kind of adding to the lore of the Gamera universe. The monster's all right. I don't feel like they're
running out of ideas, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like Virus, where it was just forced out and just kind of force fed. There's, like you say, there's some world building. It's fucking weird. I feel it's handled better than the one that comes after this. Now with this one, Gamera versus Jiger. What happens in this movie is that there's an archaeological dig that's being done because I think it's the World's Fair that's going to be happening in Tokyo, and they're trying to bring in artifacts from all over the world, for all the people who are going to be coming to see this. What's that? Tokyo City is the Gotham City if it were an art museum.
There you go. So,
come over here. Not just anywhere. Come here.
The folks who are putting this together, they go to Wester Island, not to be confused with Easter Island.
But don't. Yeah.
And
Wester, Easter. Yeah.
They're pulling up. They actually pull up this artifact. What did they call it? The Devil's
Whistle.
It was and they. Of course, the tribes that are there are really upset about this. They don't want it happening, but they're the tribes in that area are they're not the majority. Like local governments are like, yeah, go ahead and take it. Give us the money that so you can borrow it, and we'll use it for infrastructure. Go ahead, take it. Go ahead. But tribal or village elders are like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Of course, they take the thing up.
Because
and
why
then,
would they listen to logic, Nathan?
Well, it's not so much they listen to
I'm just
logic. It's
kidding.
the reasonings that that they were giving were like, you'll unleash a monster, and fair play, because if you're thinking, okay, we're talking about a universe where we've already seen 4 other monsters happen, but if you think along our lines, if someone were to say, oh, if you pull that thing up, a giant monster is going to come and wreak havoc on the world, they'd be like, get the hell out of here, you weirdo. This is the really real world, and stuff like that doesn't happen.
Learning from history, for sure.
Right. So they pull this thing up, and of course, it awakens Jiger, who is very similar to like a Triceratops.
Once again, we got the self-defense forces, and yeah, it is an inspired dinosaur design, if not as memorably used, but I totally see it.
Definitely a better creature design than Virus was.
If there was more screen time, that'd be great, though.
Yeah, but what we really end up getting is a lot of human story, because during the first battle, Gamera gets like paralyzed by Jiger, and he's just kind of stuck, and we come to find out that Jiger laid monster eggs in Gamera's belly. So
Gamera is a loser I want to be like. I'm sorry. I just really do.
Well,
But,
he's
like you say.
Yeah, if I could, if we could, Gamera is a perfect example of the learning process, because failure is part of the learning process. In just about every movie, Gamera fails at first, regroups, learns, and succeeds. It's great lessons for all kids. That's why he's the friend of all children. Speaking of the children in this movie, they take and they go and they fight the baby Jigers that hatch inside Gamera, and they manage to kill him with radio waves. And this is where they find out, that whistle that we took up out of the ground, when they did that, it made a sound that made a lot of like the people who are working there sick. So the idea that like low resonance sound actually kind of makes you queasy and feel uncomfortable.
And once again, they're able to somehow get on submarines. What is this, Max?
This one was because one of the kids' dads worked at like the local naval yard or something.
Right. And
Yeah.
you don't have to be a Boy Scout. You just got to be a very incompetent zoo guard.
Hey, with Gamera, it's all in who you know. So
that connection, man.
the folks at the World Fair, they managed to, they put the whistle back, which helps stop Jiger. The world is saved not just by Gamera, but through the help of the kids who are helping them. This one does have a fun little bit in it where the 2 American kids are talking about Gamera, and every time I watch this, I wish this one had gotten riffed on Mystery Science Theater, because every time I see this, the little girl is like, "No, I hate Gamera. He is dumb," or something like that. I'm like, "Take it back! Take it back!"
You're back. Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't.
Well, they wanted to do later ones, not unlike the Master Ninja movies, because that was a television show that got kind of clumped into movies.
Yeah,
they were supposed to do a third one the next year with Mike or something like that, but it didn't come about, which is
I know
unfortunate.
Frank and possibly even Kevin Murphy said that by the time they got to like the last few that they had licensed, they were just sick of it, and you can kind of tell because in the last few riffs they're just very impatient with some of the pacing of the movies.
Yeah,
and
so
I will say this: these are looser. They're definitely weaker in their narrative, but like you say, it is kind of fun seeing kind of the lesser tropes kind of be slightly better edited as opposed to just kind of forced upon you to where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But at first you think it's going to be all about the government and their inability to control the unleashing violence, and then they just absolutely abandon all the government altogether. It's cool seeing the monster wipe the floor with the starfighters, but like you say, it's just like, wow, okay, moving on. And yeah.
So with this one, this one's a 3 for me, just simply because it drags. I'm not even gonna soft pedal it. There are points in this movie where I'm just like, just hurry the hell up. I am getting so tired of this movie. So it does lose some points on that. The creature design is fine and well, but I think the fact that they paralyze Gamera and we're left to dealing with the kids trying to help him is definitely hampers the movie for me, anyways.
No, I hear you. And
Yeah.
like you say, it's cool seeing the Triceratops, but after a while, it's just like, okay.
Mm.
So
Now
Jiger-
we're rounding the turn.
Yep. Zigra.
Zigra. The last one
Yeah.
that was ripped for Mystery Science Theater, and
Mhm.
possibly one of the most bananas villains that they introduced in this era, because it's an alien, but it looks like a swordfish. At one point, it is a fish, and then it grows legs when it fights Gamera. It's
They're still stuck on Gueron, and then it's like, it just feels like they're using part of outtakes from Jiger and just editing it into this one. And
yeah,
have
with
the
the
same
with
kind
a
of
with the
goofball.
dose of virus in there, because it's again a sea
Yeah.
creature.
Yeah.
So-
And same kind of just general logic, just people walking around. There's the very bizarre female villain who's like part of some government conspiracy. It doesn't really have much of
He's-
anything to do.
The movie starts with the lunar rover. Oh, I just dropped it down on myself. The movie starts with like a lunar rover scene, and this lunar rover is abducted or like by an alien, and you don't see any of the people or astronauts or anything are working on. Then we cut into the movie where these two guys, they're talking about what they do for a living. They're sea life experts who work at the aquarium, and their kids are they're precocious little kids. I think these two are actually the youngest main character kids in the movies. They're not toddlers, but they're definitely not as old as like Itchy or
Yeah.
Tom and all the older ones who are almost like middle school kids. These ones are definitely like younger elementary school kids, which makes
And-
them a little more grating on the nerves.
To make it even worse, there's a lot of just her kind of just distracting them with her beauty,
Dad.
so it makes it very almost semi-statutory questionable. It's like, whoa.
Well, I
are you
mean,
these
that
kids
all
who
that
creep-
stuff aside, I mean, but so anyways, these two kids, they're constantly getting into trouble. The dads are going out fishing. They stow away on the boat, and of course the boat gets abducted by not Virus. Look what I'm doing.
Oh, it's all right.
It gets
It's basically a
by
bastard
Zigra.
guy's version of that.
Zigra gets abducted by Zigra, and they're brought aboard the ship, which is where we meet the lady who is doing all of the legwork, if you will, for
I know,
Zigra. Yeah.
Like
We
slaves.
do get of course, we do get the rundown of past Gamera adventures, and the guys they're trying to stop the destruction of Earth. And Zigra is like, you people live on the land and eat the creatures from the sea. On our planet, we live in the sea and eat the creatures on the land. It's a switcheroo. And so that's basically the idea. Again, this one, a dying planet, and we're gonna be a food source again.
Last on the food chain.
Right. They managed to escape, but not before kind of tamping down Gamera, if you will, so he won't attack.
No, Gamera, no.
Yeah. But the I guess the fights in this one are again, they're not all that great. The human story is good it would be better if the kids were maybe less of a drag on it. Because I find that the characters, because they're they're such young children and they're so simplistic and innocent and stuff like that, it doesn't add to the thing. In fact, I find that they kind of drag it down a fair bit. When the alien lady gets to Earth, of course, she's running around trying to find the kids because they know how to stop Zigra, and
They're
is
going by John Hughes' logic before it was a thing, but
right. So she's running around and she's freezing people because that's one of her alien powers.
Freeze! No, literally freeze!
Yeah. She like uses the eyes. They go ting, and whoever's looking at her, they freeze like Medusa.
I was just about to say that shit, but yeah, it's so.
But we come to find out that she's not indeed an alien. That she was working on the lunar rover that we saw at the first of the movie.
Undercover alien.
Yeah, she's been like brainwashed, or Zigra.
That.
Zigra had actually taken control over her and was using her to do its bidding. Of course, we do get a fight. We do get fights with Gamera and Zigra. One in the ocean where Zigra is a fish, a swordfish, and then of course on the land when Zigra apparently grows some feet and they fight on the land. It's probably one of the more ridiculous
oh my
ones.
God, they killed Kenny.
Yeah,
no, just kidding. We wish, but
we wish. This one, I'm honest to God, I gotta say 2. This movie is a 2 for me.
I think it is a 2 in terms of it. I just have so much fun with the dubbing, and I just like it so much more than the other bastard child of the franchise, Guirun, where it's just because don't get me wrong, the plot just sucks, but it's got some interesting ideas and other just stupid fun. Just if you take it as a just stupid cartoon, it's fun, but that's just it. It just makes you wish it could have just been animated and saga. It would have because I'm not saying it necessarily would have been good, but at least you would
actually. If I could just kind of put it in the right perspective, this feels like it would have, at least the monster anyways, would have fit in perfectly on the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla cartoon.
There you go. Probably as close as we would have gotten to a versus match finally. But the translation of this is very puzzling. Like, people have names that aren't at all like close to what it translates to. It's like Dr. Yosuke is Henry in the English version. Arabia's set. And they talk about the places where the earthquakes were caused. It's like one in Peru, one in Arabia, but in the English dub, it's somewhere in the Indian Ocean. I'm like, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Did it happen in Arabia or did it happen in the actual Indian Ocean?
I feel that is the least of our issues when it comes to
no,
logic
it is, movie. But it's just very funny. But yeah, I do give you that. Like the plot elements are interesting, but again, it's just put in a blender without any sense of just connection to anything, so it's very confusing as opposed to entertaining. And like you say, the kids do test one's knowledge. They're not as bad as like the worst kids in any Godzilla movie, but they are just
pretty
very
bad.
stupid.
Yeah.
So if go for the camp, avoid any actual intellectual interaction with this.
But with the next one, avoid like the plague. This the next one, Gamera Super Monster, from 1980, is just a glorified clip show.
Yep. Finally,
Okay.
The Showa era. I saw it for free on Hulu, and that was even too kind by free movie standards. So
I have 2 copies of this movie. Okay, which will give you the idea of the kind of fan I am. Now I have the one that came on the Blu-ray for the Arrow collection, but the other copy I have is actually an episode of Elvira's Movie Macabre.
That's the only way to watch this.
So that's the only reason why I have 2 copies of this movie.
It's on Cinema Insomnia as well, apparently in 2007. So it's interesting how this one, out of all the ones that was hosted on all the various movie parody shows, this is the one. I don't know why.
Well, it's just the easiest to shred because it's just absolute
Garbage.
dog shit. Like just terrible. This movie.
Because even
here's your loose plot. There's a kid. He really likes turtles and Gamera. He even learns that he knows how to play an organ. There's some ladies who are also secret alien superheroes who are fighting this one other lady who is also an alien supervillain under the command of an unseen alien force whose plan to take over the world is to gather up all of Gamera's previous foes and make him fight them again. Newsflash, he doesn't fight them again. They just show old clips from the movie. This is the worst offender of padding.
Well, and that's just it. And everyone always likes to go, "Oh, what if I haven't seen it?" Well, here's the counter argument. Even if you haven't seen any of this, you're going to still just find this very toxic and say this is all the franchise is like, because there's,
if you
again,
see it, you can tell that it's just old footage, that it's not new.
And aside from that, it goes from one clip to the next, just zero care put into it. Even the rescore is just very, very toxic. It's just like, okay.
Out of nowhere, like an RKO, there's like a couple of animated sequences.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Where Gamera is flying next to like a train in space or something. Like there's some bonkers stuff going on in this movie.
They were on acid. That is.
And the producers had the balls to put in just a little blip where Gamera flies past and knocks over a Godzilla sign. Like this movie was going to be better than whatever the Godzilla movie was that was going to be coming out that year.
Someone had a bone to pick, if not an ego. So I feel you on this one. It is absolutely a deep hurting. It is
the only thing that I get from this movie whenever I watch it, as far as like a legitimate laugh from me, is at one point where the kid who's like friends with Gamera or is obsessed with the turtle and stuff like that, when the villain lady's talking to him about Gamera, because he doesn't know that she's a villain, she's pumping him for information, which kind of lets you know where this movie's at. She says, "Hey, you know what? Oh, you can tell me all about it. I'll take you out for hamburger lunch." Nobody talks like that.
Right. Not in any language or any culture. To make it even worse, this giant ass poster looks like a Star Destroyer from Star Wars.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just a given. I mean, like two alien heads that are clearly a shield generator. Who are you fooling? And
so it's trash. Avoid it. It's
a negative 5 out of 5.
Can I give negatives? Because it's a negative. Yes, it's definitely a negative
100.
5.
It's just one of those. Even if you're not familiar with it, you're gonna just be very disassociated with everything that is happening on screen. The new segments that have been filmed don't match up.
It has like I'm guessing that it has like 51 or 52% new footage, just enough to be considered a new movie.
Even then, like, if the new footage is so bad, does that even count? I mean,
yeah. Well, I did like the idea of the superhero girls like doing their thing, but it almost feels like that should have been a movie
show.
Yeah, it should have been a movie unto itself. It shouldn't have included Gamera. It should have just been a movie about these. This team of Charlie's Angels superhero ladies,
right,
saving the world, and no turtle involved, nothing. It would have been fine, but no, they had to tack on a clip show of Gamera, and it makes the movie. Honest to God, like I said, I've seen it 3 times.
Oh, that's
and I saw it. I saw it once. The first time I saw it, and was like, this is just trash. I saw it another time. To show somebody how just absolute fucking pants it is. And then I watched it again when I got the Blu-ray collection, because if I'm going to pay the money that I paid for the Blu-ray collection, I'm going to watch every single movie at least once, and that includes that one. So do avoid it. It's and if a negative rating is cheating, I will happily give this half a star, only because it includes the line hamburger lunch.
Fair enough.
Which I think will be the name of my next band.
Are you sure it's not, I don't know, the name of a law firm? I don't know.
Hamburger lunch?
I don't know. I'm just making shit up. But
then there's the unfortunately never made Gamera versus Gara Sharp.
I did not know about this. I'm sorry. I'd love to know more.
Well, it was a movie that was supposed to be made with a new villain. The character even gets a mention in the Gamera comics that were published.
The Dark Horse ones or the other? Were there other ones like?
It's not in the well. It was there's the Dark Horse ones, which were the Guardian of the Universe ones, but there's also another fan one that was made. They're all included in the set too. And they mention Gara Sharp. They don't, the monster is not seen or anything. But it was modeled after a King Cobra. Wow. There is some loose mock-up images and stuff. You can find them on the internet. They're there for everyone to see. From my understanding, the idea behind the plot was that Gamera would fight Gara Sharp at first and destroy the monster, and then come to find out that it was a girl and had 2 babies, and the rest of the plot would have been Gamera protecting them to get them away from mainland civilization and off to an island where they can live, kind of like Monster Island or something like that, where they'd be able to exist.
Wow.
There's not a whole lot. It was a movie that was supposed to be made and then canceled. You can look up more of it. There's all kinds of stuff on the internet about it. I've seen the pictures. It does look like it would have been an interesting character, simply because of the it had like these I don't know, like laser antennae. That was part of its attack. So it's a shame that it never got made, but it is cool that it is canon simply because they included it in the comic books, and because if it's in the comic books that was included in this set, I would consider it canon for sure.
I mean, that would be a very confusing set if they can include both canon and non-canon. But
yeah.
Oh, damn distributors!
So now,
why can't we go along? So
now we're moving on to the Heisei series.
Heisei series from 95 to 06. Yeah. Enter. It gets distributed by Toho, which is behind, the Godzilla films.
Yeah, Dai, met its demise after Super Monster, and
can you blame him?
Well, no, I can't, because that movie's terrible. So yeah, Enter Guardian of the Universe.
As a good counterpoint, when we reviewed all the Looney Tunes movies, we were reviewing which were the best ones that even though they were a clip show, it all tied together as some coherent movie versus the ones that were just lazy and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's just they clearly learned their lessons. Like, okay, it's just got to be a whole standalone. Let's take the highlights of the earlier Gamera films and just make it just simple. Defend the city and fight other giant Gaios type creatures. And each time I tell people there are legit movies that are considered good Gamera films, they just look at me because all they associate with them are the ones that they remember on antenna channels or watching MST. And so it's such a shame that because of the earlier cult reputation that no one ever gives any of these like a moment of their time. Yeah. Now this one, because Toho had a lot of deals with NBC Universal, this one aired a shit ton on Sci-Fi Channel, especially back around 02, 05. So it was a lot of fun. And it stars none other than Vladimir Putin's partner in crime, Steven Seagal's daughter, Ayako Fujitani.
Again, couldn't name a single person.
No, it's fine. It's just interesting how she's the girl who's in all this whole trilogy, and at the same time is like, well, that's what she's known for outside of this. That's not good to know.
It's actually when we did
Revenge of Iris. Yeah.
No, we've covered the whole Heisei trilogy at this point on the show.
How did I miss that? Damn.
Oh, the first one's great because I at one point in the movie where lady scientist is at her job, her assistant.
Naoya. Yeah, I think
she's her assistant looks like she's dressed like Anna Green Gables almost. Like she's got like a bib overall thing going on with the braids and the straw hat. And I saw that, and I riffed in my notes Japan of Green Gables, and Brendan just could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
So
the Gaios in this are kind of similar to the Muto in the recent American Godzilla movies.
Very much, yes, very much. In fact, when I saw the Godzilla, the 2014 one, I was like, man, I
getting
it's
vibes.
It's a good thing that Toho owns that IP, because otherwise, someone will be getting sued. Exactly. But this one,
what do you think of the ancient civilization in Tokyo Tower subplots?
Well, I really like this one simply because it borrows all the best stuff from the Showa series and adds the new stuff to make the movie seem a little less goofy.
Right.
Okay,
and
so you get like the idea.
The characters, you don't know their names, and they're not as goofy as Timmy or Kenny, but at the same time, the actors are clearly having a lot of fun. There's at one point where they speed right through a checkpoint that's heavily guarded, and the guy is he's
laughing
no problem.
His face off. Yeah.
It's especially funnier in the dub. It's
oh
like,
man, I always want to do that.
Oh my god.
I love this because you get more of a well-rounded idea of where Gamera is from, that he was created by the people of the Mu continent, which is very similar to Atlantis. They were built to be protectors of their society.
Ancient mythology is all laid out for you, so you're ready for the finale.
Yeah,
as opposed to I don't know what this has to do with anything, but it's goofy,
Yeah, everything is put out there. It's you're given reasons. There's research shown. Even the drier stuff where they're exploring the ideas of where Gamera's from and the Mu continent and all that. It all does seem it's important, and it does seem enthralling, because if you're a fan, it definitely gives you the idea of, like you said, where Gamera's from, why he's doing what he's doing, where the birds are from, what they're like, why they are doing what they're doing. The creature design on the Gauss are really cool. They took a lot of elements from the original Gauss, made them a little more, I don't know, bat and dragon like. So they look a lot more menacing.
The scientists throughout this whole trilogy, instead of just being in the lab or serving as exposition or just arguing with superiors or looking with dumbfounded looks, they're always like by the battles, witnessing him, trying to outpredict the monster. And here you get a lot of helicopter action, but it's not just eye candy. It is a lot of fun.
And you get they're still using the practical effects with like a guy in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
The battles are really cool. You've got 3 Gauss that you're dealing with from the start.
The stakes are raised.
Yeah. So this one is a 5 for me. It's my favorite Gamera movie. I've seen it I don't know how many times.
I'm with you. I don't know if it's the best of 95, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of the better genre pieces and easily rivals, American blockbusters, while again keeping the creature.
This movie got screwed because of the Godzilla, the Gino, the Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie.
Oh yeah,
because
Godzilla.
This came out in 95 in Japan. There were plans to do the wide release and stuff, overseas a couple years later, and then they were kind of yeah, they were kind of banking on that movie kicking off people blowing up the market where people wanted to see more kaiju movies, and that movie tanks. This movie gets a kind of quiet theatrical release in North America, and then the other 2 are just relegated to video if you want to see them.
Yeah, if it was playing at any theaters, it was going to be at the art house theaters or something. No one was going to, see this alongside other big, well-known movies, and it's like you say, it's a shame.
Well, but with what comes next, in the series, I'd feel that they might have hurt themselves regardless, because up next is Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, or the Advent of Legion, or again, a bunch of other different titles.
The redneck cut.
Yeah, that
If
one,
you
the
play
Lake,
the
the
old
Lake
DVD.
Texarkana one is actually that
Provided
cut
by Texas itself. Yep.
or the dub was so well loved by fans that
It's its
it was
own movie.
actually included on the Blu-rays. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay, good. I was
Yeah.
just figuring you were gonna have to buy 3 different copies of the movie, but no, you can find that easily on YouTube or Dailymotion. People have posted just clips of it, and kind of like
It was
some of
actually
these,
even on the Mill Creek release of the
really?
of these, which had the English dubs. They had it on there. That's how popular it was.
That's fucking
And
awesome.
it's, in my opinion, it's kind of the only real way to enjoy this movie. I know I like the Hesai series, but the second one is kind of the weaker of the bunch. It drags.
Takes a while to get going. I think it works as a suspenseful piece, but I can see why, like you say, because the last one raised the bar a certain way, it doesn't really try to outdo it. But I will say this, compared to some of the other Godzilla movies, which have kind of become their whole different thing just based on different era, like the Smog Monsters is a good example, Godzilla 2000's American version, it's this one, I just like kind of some of the military action, but like you say, it is very.
If you look at it this way, if you watched the first one, or even if you watch all 3 of these in a row, like say you did a movie marathon, you want to watch all 3 of the 90s Gamera movies, this one would feel really out of place tonally. The pacing is off compared to Guardian of the Universe and Revenge of Iris. It's, for me, I'm gonna say it would have been a 3, simply because there's not a whole lot that's added to the Gamera universe with this movie except a new monster.
Oh, good.
I'll
give it a 4, but just because the effects are pretty much the reason to watch. But like you say, if you're going for a plot, you're not going to get it. For somewhere along the way, they got spoiled on their own success.
I know we just ran past it and gave our ratings, but here's the plot. These giant alien bugs, they show up, they drink beer, they form a big monster. Gamera fights them.
Pretty creepy looking, but
they're
not
creepy
really
looking.
described. That's it.
Yeah, they feed on energy. They show up. Gamera fights them. The end. There's not a whole lot going on there. We do get a cameo from our inspector from the first movie, who plays the security guard at the Kirin beer.
No wonder he looked familiar.
Beer brewery. But he's not featured. It's just a cameo. He's definitely featured more heavily in Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, which is is also a really good Gamera movie, just simply because you get
it's a step up.
It's a step up because you get that anti-Gamera. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just the different locations also kind of build a lot of just moody, just you don't know what to expect, having these extraterrestrials, again, have the Gaios try and attack Gamera. They infiltrate a giant sports stadium and other parts of the city that are just harboring all these creatures, making it their own bat cave. So just the surprises keep, and again, you have more insects and other stuff. It's just, again, it's expanding on all the stuff it's doing while also, again, having a fun throwback to those who saw, all the original 70s and 60s and 70s movies during antenna years. And it's a good send-off also. It keeps the door open without leaving a bad impression. And once
now,
again,
for me,
leaving in the Atlantis stuff.
They do keep that, but I like with the third one with Gamera with Iris, because not only do you get the idea that Iris is the anti-Gamera, but you also get a girl who is she's in that position as well, because in Gamera Guardian of the Universe, We've got the head scientist. His daughter she's got like this attachment to Gamera. You know, he feeds on her. She feels like a very Corsican brothers type thing. And the same thing happens in this one with Iris and the poor girl whose family died in the original Gauss attack. So the creature design in this is quite inspired. It's very reminiscent of Virus because you've got the tentacles, but it's not a squid.
The moody lighting is kind of like a Hellraiser kind of movie where you're just you know what I mean, where you're just it could easily be a Lovecraftian kind of.
Well, that's it too. It kind of calls on the whole Cthulhu thing because the monster does kind of brainwash her and kind of take over her behaviors and stuff like that because she's so obsessed with ridding Gamera or ridding the world of Gamera that Iris is able to kind of
like
latch
movie
onto
2.
her.
It's kind of separate from the other ones, but at the same time doing some throwbacks and.
Well, there's Gauss in this one.
Yeah, but I just mean just the overall tone is just unlike anything what you're used to seeing in a Keiju movie in between like the beginning and end, finale. It's like, wow, I did not know they had the ability to be this detailed and creepy.
Yeah. And I mean there's a whole point where the Iris like basically sucks somebody dry. Like and then they're like just a husk of a skeleton with dried skin, and it's pretty gruesome. So this one here is
definitely
definitely a solid 4.
It was the first giant Keiju movie to win the Japanese Nebula Award.
Oh, intriguing.
My bad. That was movie number 2. But movie number 3, what did that win? That won the award for best sound recording at the Mancini Film Awards. So there you go. Okay. One of the largest newspaper companies in Japan awarded it at a ceremony. So this is what's just so unheard of. It's just these movies are getting awards, something we Americans, maybe even Canadians, seem incapable of doing. Is just like we don't want to award any of the blockbusters unless it's like effects or makeup.
Oh, yeah, but I mean that's
to be fair,
I
we do a lot of crappy movies, so.
Well, I mean, I feel that the reason that is, Oscars and the Academy, we certainly can't talk about explosions and gunfire. That's just.
Montrose, he's coming aboard.
That's what this sounds like right here. This is my more still. This right here is my austere aristocrat. I certainly can't talk about this. Not cricket. We don't talk about.
Oh, Nathan.
It's more Cecil than Montrose.
So what is your... So I'm going to split this up into a freeway, no pun intended. I'll give my review, then I'm going to have Nathan review, then I'm going to have Montrose review it. Okay. Does that sound bloody good?
All right, it's fine with me.
You're ready to put on the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde persona.
Yeah.
So, what else can I say? 4 out of 5. It may not be remembered by non-genre connoisseurs, but it is a must-see for fans of Keiju, as well as just seeing how possible it was to resurrect the creature for the last of the 90s, and just again,
now we're still talking about Iris here, yeah.
Oh, I thought we had moved on to
we're moving on to Gamera the Brave because I'm on that too.
No. Sorry, we're on Revenge of Iris, and it was a good way to send off while also just showing how it
Sendai, huh?
It was a great tribute, and without being just very confused in tone or setting, and all the characters that have been established in the last 2 movies have enough to do, as opposed to just being pretty faces, with WTF looks. They actually do get to do what all scientists in a Keiju movie should do. And again, the title creature is just, again, easily has just successfully restructured himself, again, no pun, as just a worthy, counterpart to all the King Kongs and Godzillas of this universe. They'd make good use of it all.
Yeah, and I think with this one here, and it's kind of something we didn't really mention, the character or the creature design for Gamera actually evolved over these three movies.
Indeed.
And
Very
he's looking
scale.
like really badass in this one. I give this one it's a 4. Like I said, the creature design for Gamera's cool. Iris is neat. I like what's going on with the girl and how they've got that whole yin and yang. Not only with the monsters but also with the people who are associated with them. You've got that interesting kind of B plot with the guy and the weird lady who are trying to actually help Iris as well. The final fight is really good. Gamera, Gamera gets a little bloodied and stuff like that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one as well.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Montrose, what did you think of this gruesome yet epic tale?
I've watched these movies and they are intriguing to me. I will say this, but I'm actually more of a Kong fan. I'm really quite looking forward to him taking on this Godzilla chap. I was a big fan of Skull Island. Actually saw that one at the drive-in. It was good fun. I would say though, I would definitely say this is definitely a solid 3.5 for me. Everything was quite competently done, but it lost a 1.5 due to the lack of giant gorillas. Thank you. More later.
I'm sure Peter O'Toole and Oliver Reed agree with you. Perfect.
So, now, the Ender. Gamera the Brave, last of the
Alrighty.
bunch.
Again, they decided in 2006 to reboot the series and attempt another take on it because there just wasn't enough kaiju movies to go along in the 2000s. And 2 years after Godzilla Final Wars, it pretty much had a lot of the same kind of deal where it had a mix of a new kind of world build along with bizarre CGI and catering to kids once again, because again,
And this one actually is I don't know, it's like a Gamera, son of Gamera, if you will,
that's a good
because
point.
the way the movie starts out is we get a shot of Gamera fighting the Gauss birds, which is supposed to be like in the, I don't know, the 70s or something like that. We flash forward. I don't know. There's a kid. His mom, she died in like a Gamera battle or Gauss fight. His dad runs a restaurant.
He's my mommy killer as well as my.
Yeah, but he wasn't a big baby about it like the girl in Revenge of Iris.
No.
He wants a turtle. But his dad won't let him have one because they run a restaurant and they can't have pets because they live above their restaurant and it's unhygienic. But one day, while swimming with his friends, they swim out to a near a little island or something, and he finds
a turtle named Toto.
Turtle. Well, it's an egg at first, and it turns out to be Toto. This little turtle, who we see kind of learns how to fly. There's one point where he's kind of, getting up to some hijinks, and he's almost impaled by a knife. So we get kind of that fun little nod to Gamera versus Guiron. All the while this is happening, the turtle's getting bigger and bigger, very quickly. And then another kaiju kind of shows up on the scene.
Zetus.
Zetus. Yep. Which is almost like a
Amphibian.
an iguana or one of those those acid spitting
Still under Godzilla dick slapping. That's what they're doing here.
those lizards that fan
Iguana.
out their but they have the big gills that they fan out to make themselves look bigger against possible predators, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Velociraptor.
No, it's not the
I'm just
Velociraptor. It's the ones that killed that one that killed Wayne Knight, I think, in Jurassic Park. They fan out and they spit acid
yeah,
at
that's
him.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The flowery kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
So it's basically a mix of a toad and some kind of dino inbreed. It's just
Yeah. So it's a really cool design. The kid at first he doesn't want to believe that the turtle is Gamera. And so much so that he's just absolutely in denial about it until at the very end, where Toto has finally gotten as big as he's gonna get, and he's gonna fight Zetus. And of course, all the kids, they come together to help Gamera.
together.
Right, together. It's very, very goofy, kid-friendly stuff. So, I mean,
But
if
it's
you
not to the
have,
point where you're just like, please,
it's
movie.
not, yeah, exactly. It's one of those movies, like, if you have them and you want to introduce, your kids that might be in your orbit, nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, whatever, to these movies, but you don't want them to sit down in front of a 1960s movie and go, this is old and it looks stupid. Show them this one because it's very kid friendly and it still looks fairly modern.
It's weird how it does basically try to play ball with all the superhero and other monster films that were happening at this time while going into comic book mode. And yet it's just very consistent. Even though it's like a light PG-13, it is one of those, it's consistent with the gentle tone. I guess a good counterpart is before the new Planet of the Apes, it's kind of going by that same whole mindset. It's like you gotta be gentle at first with the build-up and then just lightly show all the tension and small amounts of grit in there so that the older people can stand it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's got enough stuff. It's got
the music's
a lot of fun stuff going on for the kids. Yes, and the story itself has got a lot of fun stuff going on for kids because the kids are the heroes, like almost full on the heroes in this movie. There's no real military interference or scientists and stuff like that.
Which is so weird. You would
right?
That was like all the rage. We had to have all these, post-terror moments, and it's like, fortunately, it avoids that as a whole. There's like,
there's enough of that going on for kids to be like, I really like this because kids are the heroes, but there's also enough cool, fun stuff going on as far as like the monster fights and some of the things that the nods that they do to like the older series movies that anybody who's an adult who likes the Gamera movies will also be kind of entertained as well. So I'd give this one a 3.5 for sure.
For sure. Other than that, do you think they ever will try to resurrect the creature again in some
They tried.
capacity?
There was like a proof of concept trailer that hit in like 2015, I think.
Right.
There was never went
rumors
anywhere
circulating around, but it was like
Tokyo
it was tabloids.
They were trying to get something put together for the 50th anniversary of Gamera, and they had this like almost like a trailer short that they released. It looked like it was going to be kind of interesting to see, but nothing came of it. I hope they do. Honestly, I hope they do. I love the character. I'd love to see more. I'd like to see what they can do now, especially now seeing the stuff that they've done with the Godzilla movies. The Garth Edwards ones and the King Kong, all the Monarch MonsterVerse stuff that they're doing. I'm quite intrigued. I'd love to see the character come back for sure.
For sure. I love the Garth Edwards one too, despite a lot of people being not taking kindly to it.
I love the first one. I even liked King of the Monsters, despite the fact that a lot of people did not. And I will say this right out of the gate:
to like it,
fuck
but
Shin Godzilla. That movie is awful.
Oh well.
Do not care for Shin Godzilla at all. So,
all right.
Hot take. That's what I'm gonna.
It's a fun homage, but it's not going to appeal to everybody.
That's my hot take to finish off this whole thing.
Isn't it wild though how not everyone necessarily has seen Gamera, but he's just referenced endlessly in like various cartoons and just other like pop art.
I always like it just because it's it's an alternative to Godzilla. I mean, I love Godzilla, but there's just something kind of endearing about Gamera because he's always the hero.
He's always the hero. He gets beat up enough times so you don't feel bored like, some of the lesser Keiju
And yeah,
movies.
you get that formula of, he gets defeated, then he doesn't. He gets defeated, then he doesn't. He gets defeated. Yeah, that's fine, but I like the idea of that because the kid in me, who
There's a kid in you?
always
Get him out of there.
well, unbeknownst to a lot of people, I'm actually from the planet Terra, and that's how that's our sustenance. I don't know, the idea of being able to fall down but get back up and keep moving and win, or at least succeed in some way, shape, or form. For me, is definitely a really good thing with these movies. They're not as serious for the most part. They're not as heavy as some of the Godzilla movies can be.
Fun fact.
What's that?
Fun fact, in November of 2019, I was binge watching the hell out of Robot Chicken, just more recent seasons, and unexpectedly, they did a Godzilla the musical on Robot Chicken in one segment, and unexpectedly, Gamera shows up.
That's hilarious.
And it was just one of those, just like, no fucking way. I had to rewind. I'm like, did I just see what I thought I was,
Hey,
saw?
it's parody. They can do whatever they want, right?
Or yeah, but it's just like you just don't typically see him, included other than like in say like Tumblr fan art or something like that.
Actually, the only time I've ever seen them do the crossover, I've seen some YouTube clips where it was like, the monster battle stuff that they've done. Gamera,
Yeah, stuff like
seen
that.
Screw Attack, that was what they did it.
Screw Attack, fake movie trailers, using clips from the recent movies. Yeah,
and that episode of The Simpsons. That's the only time I've ever seen them
God.
crossover. So
I tagged it in the post, so I'm just please, I forget what episode it was, but if you can look up.
Oh, it was when they went to Japan. They were on the game show.
Oh yeah, I know that, but I mean, like on the Robot Chicken episode, if you
okay.
Look up somewhere Godzilla the musical, and it's just so worth it.
I'll have to see that. Well, Cameron, this has been a great time. I've had an awesome time talking the turtle, but
Wait a minute, sir, get back here.
It's been
I'm just kidding.
I simply must take my
Thank you
leave
so
of you.
much.
It's been almost 2 hours, and
Gotta keep up with it.
I know I would love to sit and talk turtle all night, but other things. Yes, other responsibilities do call me.
Can be found on Instagram.
You can find me. I'm on the Twitter, Super NES Spavold. But I'm more apt. What were they thinking? We're on Instagram. We're on all the stuff.
You have some of the best guests ever, from Amanda the Jedi to Steven
we do
Izzy.
have some guests. We're on Redbubble, TeePublic. We're Age of Radio now, so that kind of gets out to all the podcatchers
Now
out
taking
there.
movie roasts.
So if you wherever you grab this podcast, you could probably find ours. Just that's kind of reach that helps us. We also have a Patreon. You can check us out there. Brendan and I, every week we find a movie that's bad to questionable and just tear it apart. So.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a